Hello Giants fans, welcome to Giants Baseball 101. I'm Gabe Vaughn, your host. The Giants lost to the Mets 8-4 today, and it just goes without saying that this has been a really difficult week for the Giants and incredibly disappointing. Just the fact that they twice won the first game of a 3-game series and then lost the other 2 games. It's just something contrary to anything that I expected. Just both for each one of these 3-game sets. When they beat the Blue Jays on Tuesday, I expected them to win that one. They lost the other 2 on Friday. When they beat the Mets 5-2, I expected they'd win that series. Just both times their opponent came back, and that's just really unfortunate. But it's really been characteristic of the Giants to be on a seesaw this year. They're kind of up and then they're down, and we are seeing gradual progress, but it's just been characteristic of this year, and apparently we're really not past all of that yet. They've been on kind of an up and down, just an up and down streak over these few months here. And they did an incredible job of coming back from a losing streak and just getting ahead and working their way up in the division. But it's still, they've run into a bit of trouble again. Ross Stripling pitched the first couple of innings. He didn't allow any runs. He did a good job, got through them scorelessly. Alex Wood took over, and he just had another one of his blowout nights where he just couldn't do it. He's really been used lately as a long reliever out of the bullpen, usually pitching behind an opener, and this time Stripling played the role of the opener. For whatever reason, the Giants decided to use Stripling and Wood to try to get through this game. And whether it would have been preferable to leave Stripling in since he was pitching well, I mean, that's a possibility. He hadn't allowed any runs, and so maybe they stick with him. But I think they just do everything they can to get the favorable matchup. It's just, however you do it, you've got a plan to have at least one of your guys facing the lineup more than once anyway. So that's why it seems to me that it could have been an option, unless, and I really forget now when Stripling pitched last, whether he'd be on enough rest to try to go for a full-on start today. It's kind of slipped from my memory, but might have been an option to let Stripling just stay in the game, given that he hadn't allowed any runs. But Wood, I think it was 5 runs scored off of him, and 4 of them were earned. It just wasn't good for Wood today, and he's had his struggles both this year and last. He was great in 2021, but since then he just has not been a quality pitching arm for the Giants. Tristan Beck took over after that, and he pitched well, like 2 1/3 innings. In the 7th inning, and this is really the most disappointing part, the Giants they started to mount a comeback, and it really looked in the 7th inning like it just might be one of those games where the Giants come back and turn a big loss into a win. So they got a runner on base, and then Blake Sable hit a 2-run shot, made it 5-3. After that, Tyro Estrada singled. That brought J.D. Davis up to the plate, and he doubled in Estrada, but then Brandon Crawford with 2 outs. Can't remember how many outs there were at the time of Davis's double, but I do know that with 2 outs and Davis on second, Crawford grounded out to end the rally. The Giants could do no more, and Tyler Rogers, he allowed a run, and then Ryan Walker came in the 9th, and he allowed a couple of runs, and yeah, the Giants just didn't score anymore and ended in a loss. So really, that I think is the saddest part of the game. The fact that the Giants comeback just ended in getting cut short. It really looks like it might be a comeback, scoring 3 runs in the 7th inning. It's something too that the Giants have been known to do a lot lately. Like a couple weeks ago, that was just their, in the late innings, if they couldn't get anything going early in the late innings, you'd see them come back, and I mean, you saw them win in extra innings too, and it really looked today like they might have been reviving some of that, but you know, it just got cut a little short, and sometimes situational hitting is everything. I mean, with a runner on second, we really won't know how many, if Crawford could have got a hit, we really won't know how much longer the Giants could have extended that inning. I mean, they'd still have had to likely keep the Mets from scoring as many more runs as they did, you know, but it would have been, we just don't know what would have happened. But when you have a rally like that and it gets killed just at the last minute, you're really, it really just seems like you've wasted everything, and that's just, so it's really I mean, just a discouraging series for the Giants. The good news is that the Dodgers and Diamondbacks both lost today, and both those teams are in interleague play. The Giants will be in interleague play tomorrow, playing the Mariners, and that's where they'll have to start turning it around. So this week, I mean, it just didn't go right, but the Giants are hanging on in the National League West. The Dodgers, it's not like they've been great either. That's the real good news, that it's just timed well with the Dodgers getting defeated and then the Diamondbacks getting defeated today. So because of that, the Giants are hanging in there, and they might be getting away with a little bit of this slower than normal level of play. But it does need to be picked up pretty soon. I think that the pitching is really the key here. It's not like the Giants can never make it work with guys like Alex Wood and Ross Stripling, although Stripling, I mentioned, he did pitch well today. And DeSclafani as well, the guy who pitched yesterday. I mean, he had trouble, but I mean, he sometimes does it. That would apply to Jacob Junis and Sean Manaea as well. Sometimes the Giants do just fine with a combination of those guys, but other times it's just you know, they just don't prove to be good enough. And you just, the guy who's on the mound is never an absolute determiner of, because I mean, on Tuesday, the Giants beat the Blue Jays with Alex Wood actually pitching, I think it was 5 scoreless innings, and then Logan Webb started the next day. You know, we're just like, sure, he's going to win it, but, and then that first inning where Webb allowed 5 runs, it just, I'm sure it really flabbergasted all of us. But so even Webb, you know, he has his days, and I'm hoping that was just some fluke that's going to go away, and I think that's the most likely thing here. But just all in all, the pitching, I think I just see a bit of inconsistency, particularly in those games where the Giants are trying to make it on a combination of these guys who are just haven't been their best this year. Just a multi-inning combination of these pitchers, and like I said, really you have to plan to have at least one of them face the lineup twice when you're kind of doing a combo in a given game. And I'm assuming the Giants are just using sound analytical reasoning to really plan how to get the advantage there, although you can't line everything up perfectly. But I mean, it's just, the pitching's an area where you know, it's just they have to kind of figure something out, and whether that means going into their minor league system, that's a possibility. And obviously the trade deadline too, I really see that as the only other way of getting an actual quality starting pitcher. And you just, it's kind of weird because you keep hearing these things about Shohei Ohtani coming to the Giants, but it's not like I haven't heard from others that that's kind of unlikely, you know. So we just don't know where that's going. But I'm really just focused on the fact that they need to get somebody. They need to add at least one other starter to their rotation. Then again, in terms of what they already have, I think a key guy right here for the rotation is Alex Cobb. And I say that because, like I mentioned, these other guys who have proven to be like average at best and just not super productive at winning games for the Giants. And Alex Cobb, he was great earlier this year, then he had this injury, I forget what it was, but he went on the injured list, and in his return start, I forget which day he started now, but he was kind of, well, he wasn't that great, but I mean, he was solid enough for a guy returning. So Cobb, obviously, he could probably play a major influence in swinging the team one way or another based on his rotation performance. So he's probably the guy to keep an eye on. I think it's just pretty safe to say that we have to hope in these circumstances that Cobb's good. There's something similar to last year, and I know we don't really want to make comparisons between the 2023 Giants and the 2022 Giants just because of how bad last year was and how slowly more hopeless everything got. And I know that it probably doesn't make everybody feel good to try to make comparisons between the two teams, but it was a fact, and I was saying this like about August of last year, that the pitching is probably what the Giants are going to live or die on in terms of making the playoffs, and that's going to be the key. And then it really just wasn't good enough after that. That's the thing they really have in common this year. I think they have the ability to rally, and I mean, even the runs they scored today, that is, I think that their rally in the 7th inning, even though it was cut short, it was a demonstration of what they may, in fact, be able to do later on. But the similarity here is that the pitching is just, it could be everything from here, and I think it's going to be the hinge that the Giants' season is going to turn on. That's the thing here. So I'm just saying that's what we keep our eye on. The other big piece of news is that Camilo Doval was selected to his first All-Star game, so it'll be interesting to see if he pitches, if he gets into that game. I know that's not really what we're here to talk about. It's more the Giants and their run for the playoffs, and that's what I don't really want us to get distracted from. But it's definitely worth noting that Doval's in the All-Star game, and I think that's very appropriate. This hard-throwing reliever, this really guy who's turned himself. He really, what he did with the Giants, he really turned himself from a guy who just completely lacked all command into a great pitcher. When he first came up in 2021, it was like he couldn't get the ball over the plate, and it's like, come on, it's his fastballs and sliders, they're going to be great if they can kind of go places, but he just kind of throws all over the place. He really transformed himself into just a really great pitcher, and that's what he's been this year. And I think that's just seeing him going to the All-Star game. I think that's why all that's just great. So thank you for watching. This has been Giants Baseball 101. Please subscribe if you haven't. Also, please leave your questions and comments. You know where to do it. I'll see you next time on Giants Baseball 101.